before we start, first of all, I want to say welcome to all three of you, because it's all of your first times here at the Robin Williams Center, I think. And I also just wanted to say, Bob and Angela, you've both been so instrumental in supporting the foundation. You're both on the Actors Council, and the way that you contributed and gave back during COVID and during the strike has been so important and so just crucial to the people in this room. So just wanted to thank you for everything you've done. Now let's talk Zero Day. Bob, I'm going to start with you. Eric Newman, who's here, has said that the two of you had lunch at Shutters in Santa Monica and talked about a few ideas here and there. And when the lunch ended, it was like, okay, it seems like this is going to be something. So, well, first of all, what was it? And also, what do you look for in these kinds of lunches that makes you think, okay, this is going to be my next project?
First thing is that the food is good. We met and talked about stuff, and Eric had brought up this idea. And then the next thing, of course, that I liked, next thing for him to do was to write what you call a treatment, more or less, an outline, 10, 15 pages. And then we'd go to the next stage of writing episodes, and that's how it went. And I was on officially, I think after the treatment, just to see it in writing. Yeah, unless you have something else, Eric, about it, but that's how I remember it.
You had faith after 15
where's Eric?
pages.
He's not here. I thought he. Sorry. Yeah.
Was there something also about doing, this is your first limited TV series that you've done, was that something that was exciting to you? Was that a little scary to you?
Well, I didn't know what it would be. It's like doing 3 features back to back. And it was, in our case, it was always very much, we got off to a false start because of the strike and because of, that was the main thing and whatever else, the writer's strike and then the actor's strike. And so we started a year later, and it was just a different type of discipline that I needed in order to get through all the episodes. Yeah. And that was only 6. Some people do twice that.
Yeah, Lizzy, you're no stranger to doing series. You've done such wonderful things. What was it about Alexandra that spoke to you? Because sometimes I feel like I was watching her, and she is carrying so much and so many secrets and keeping so many things straight all the time.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, really, I don't think there's a single moment in the show that I have that she's not juggling like 50 things and 48 of them are lies. And it was a challenge to keep track of all of that. But I think it's easy for us actors to kind of play the lie when in reality people are kind of good at lying. So I think if I went into it thinking if I could make her lies believable to the people she was talking to, then I was doing a decent enough job. Because I also think that, I don't know what you guys have seen. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, seen one. She's great. She does nothing wrong. She's an angel. I think that your task as an actor is to think that you are the hero of your own story. Nobody goes into it thinking I'm a villain or a bad person, and so how do you get there in your performance? How do you justify your character's actions? And sometimes that's more difficult than others, and Alex, I would say, was probably one of the trickiest to pull that off with.
Yeah. Angela, you have played royalty, and you have played icons, and love seeing you as president. I'd vote for you in real life. I was curious about the physicality, actually, because I was watching you in this series, and just the way you sit, the way you walk, like when you thought about playing the president of the United States, what is that kind of internal
thing that goes on for you?
Yeah, it was really something to consider. You know, I mean, to play this character and to have this particular set. I mean, I'm in a movie next month, Mission Impossible, where I played the president also, but I'm in a conference room with others, so it doesn't feel as presidential, you know. But this one did, to be in that Oval Office, behind that desk, those sofas facing each other, to have those doors open and the former president to walk in. It just, I mean, I've met a president or two, you know, but the carriage, and especially for a woman to be in this seat of power, and then on top of that, a black woman in this seat of power, it's like, what was her past that brought her to this place that she was, the candidate for this job. Her intellect, her diplomacy, her carriage, you imagine that a lot goes into that. So of course I thought about the way you hold yourself, the way you walk, the way you present. Yeah.
I want to follow up with that, and even for all three.
And the way we shot it was 6 episodes, and we shot all of the oval scenes within that week. So I was jumping from one episode to the next, to the next, to the next. So I was quite thankful for the strike because, it's a character. You can't be too emotional, all this is going on, but, you have to be an able-bodied leader and the calm in the storm. And so I was happy to have a moment to really sit with it, so that when I showed up that day with this one, my little heart didn't beat out of my pantsuit jacket.
Are you someone, and for all three of you, do you write your backstory before you play a character? I mean, I don't mean like physically write, but do you have to go through that? Okay, what happened to my character before we got to this place?
I guess it would depend on the project. This one, I have to say honestly, relied so much on our director, Leslie Linker-Glatter, who she is just absolutely amazing. She, directed all 6 episodes, so to have that consistency, because I've done other, working on it episodic, you have different directors, different sensibilities, some you can listen to, some you're like, what? That don't make sense, Yes. But to have someone so smart, so aware, so prepared, it was so very helpful, because as we know, a lot is going on. A lot of truths, a lot of lies, as you say, a lot of, withhelds, it's going on. So it helped to have her.
Yeah, it was a real luxury, because same, like, I've done a lot of episodic TV, and yeah, you get a new director coming in, and sometimes you're like, you're very smart, and sometimes you're like, who are you? I've been here for years, and you just got it. Okay. But Leslie, like, this cast is huge. There's a lot going on in every episode, and you could go up to her, any of us could go up to her and say, okay, because we would shoot, as Angela was saying, we kind of shot everything at once, all 6 episodes simultaneously. So in one day, you'd shoot scenes from 4 or 5, 6 episodes. And Leslie knew exactly where you were coming from, exactly where you were going next, and she had it all written down for every character, for every beat of the entire thing. So you never felt lost, which is very rare.
Yeah. Bob, George is, I mean, he's brought in to deal with this situation, and at this point, if you've only seen one, I mean, he's seeing things. He's maybe hearing some Sex Pistols, like he's there. How did you approach playing that? And your performance is so wonderful. I mean, spoiler alert, Robert De Niro's a great actor, but even there are these tiny moments, and I love Leslie's direction because she can get so close on your face, and like your eyes, you can see so much that he's going through in even a tiny moment.
Yeah,
Was there something in particular about him as a character that, I mean, I imagine when you say yes to play someone, especially as you said for, the duration of 3 films kind of, it has to be something that you want to play.
Yeah, I mean, he was a guy who was a straight shooter, has ethics. He's trying to do the right thing. He's the opposite of what we see today. He's someone who wants to do the right thing, period. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to take liberties that maybe he shouldn't have, but at the end of the day, he owns them. He admits that he made those mistakes. It's a totally different thing. I think that that whole thrust and theme of these 6 episodes is intended to show that. Period.
Yeah. When you all filmed this, this series came out on Netflix in February, a month after the inauguration, and you filmed it maybe thinking things would, or just at a different time. Was it, when you went back and watched it, was it jarring for you to think like, oh, I was in such a different space in my anticipation when we were filming?
You mean anticipation about what the results would be?
Yeah.
No, I never felt that we weren't there until we were there, and we never got there, period. So there was just a lot of anxiety about what's going to happen. And there were things that were coincidences in the script that had, for example, Mullins being tested, the psych evaluations and stuff, nothing to do with what we had learned from Biden. We did that before that happened with Biden. I was exposed to some other things I'm forgetting. Maybe you guys remember.
Yeah, there were so many, but not the one where Kamala wins. That would have been better. That would have been so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's Angela, your character gives such a speech, and it's in the last episode. I'm not spoiling anything, but she gives this beautiful, I jotted it down, where she talks about the truth is the truth, but it's not the most important thing. And the relationship to truth is such a theme throughout this series. What did you think about that speech that she gives to her predecessor in the Oval Office?
Well, she has aspirations, and I appreciated that. They had a camaraderie, they had a respect for one another, that they could work together, that she could recognize the great benefit from someone who had gone before, because there's only a small finite number of individuals who understand what goes on behind that desk, so they're able to work together. But also, it's how much information do you let out at what time, but what is for the greater good. So
what questions did you all have? You had journalists, Pulitzer Prize winning journalists on your writing staff, and former head of NBC News. Did you have questions about guys, what really goes on that we should incorporate into our portrayals?
I did a lot. I asked them all kinds of questions, and not even really, yes, obviously specifically about what we were doing in the show, but more what's really going on behind the scenes, in the real world. And I have to say,
the answers come, then you're like, stop.
Yeah, the answers were not reassuring, ever, not once. But they were so chill about delivering the terrifying news that was kind of helpful. I guess the best example is so climate change, what's come on. And they would say, yeah, we're not going to fix climate change, but we are going to figure out a way to live with it. So this is such a sidebar, but there was the World Cup in Qatar, and they figured out a way to air condition the outside. I think that's probably going to be what happens instead of actually fixing climate change. So these are horrifying truths to hear, but they seemed all right. I don't know.
I mean, Bob and Angela, did you have specific like presidential questions that you wanted to know before you approached playing these characters?
I don't know, Angela, if you did.
I did not. But I wondered, I mean, there is something, but they cut around it. They had her smoking, they had her smoking. I was like, But, we decided that wasn't a good look. She's stressed, She only does it there in the office, one or two, But where did they get that from? And what else? Oh, she used a well-placed expletive here and there. And okay, all right, this is how her stress comes out. So that was interesting.
The whole cast of, in addition to the three of you, I was jotting down some of the actors: Jesse Plemons, Gabby Hoffman, Matthew Modine, Connie Britton, Joan Allen, Dan Stevens, and more. And Bob, I know you and Jesse have worked together a couple of times, but is there, even at this point, I mean, all three of you are so successful and have acted opposite so many people. Do you get, and I guess Angela, you and Bob had worked together once. What, like 20-something years ago at this point?
At least 20 years ago.
At least.
Longer, yeah.
Yeah. First of all, why did you wait so long to work together again?
Just
Bob?
happened.
Why?
Is there a particular thrill in getting to act opposite people that you haven't gotten to kind of explore that dynamic with? I mean, you've all worked with so many people in your careers. Is it like, oh yes,
It's a
I get to
phenomenal thrill, and we were able to have a around the table, a cast read through, and then the ones who weren't there, they were on Zoom, they're in the room, and just to meet everyone, it was such a strong cast. You just couldn't believe how blessed you were, even though we didn't have any scenes together, but to be in the same rare air, and so it was a thrill for me. I'd never done this type of a project before, a political thriller, and then of course to reconnect with Robert, and to work with Leslie. I worked with her years ago on ER, an episode of ER, and fell in love with her there, and looked at my phone, and she'd given me her number, said, if you ever want to trail me to direct, I'm here, and it's like, it's still there, it still works. So it was, and of course being a fan of, having worked with Connie, and being a fan of Jesse and Matthew, and just down the cast list was absolutely phenomenal, a dream come true.
Yeah, I don't think I should be included in that general question because obviously my answer is yes. Like, what are we even talking about here? Yeah.
I mean, Bob, do you get that, like, or do you feel like you have to put people at ease who might not have acted opposite you because they're probably thinking in their head, oh my God, I'm doing a scene with him?
No, I don't. And I don't allow myself. I mean, we're going to get over that in 2 days and just get to work. I mean, really, that's to me, that's the way it's been.
And I, honestly, like, of course, I think everybody probably has that feeling, but I think when you're such a legend, you really don't have to be as generous of an actor as you were. Like, you have graduated from needing to do that, and you did it, and I was so like, I guess surprised, but it was a joy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What did you think when you sat down? Well, I'm curious, do you all watch your work? And did you, when you sat down to watch these 6 episodes, what did you think?
I'll just say, you watch them and you have thoughts about this scene or that or something that and you give your comments to the director, Eric or Leslie. Excuse me. And that's it.
Do you always watch your work?
Well, I try to, not always. I try to.
I'm like 50-50. I haven't finished this one yet. I need a little bit of time.
Oh,
after
your
it airs.
character is some big stuff in the
I
end,
know. I
Lizzy.
haven't seen any
You're
of it.
phenomenal.
Oh.
You're impressive. The things you do,
Bassett.
girl. It's magic. I watch sometime. I watch sometime. Now, I had 18 episodes of 911. Now that's too many. I watch a couple of them, but I did watch. I waited for a friend to, not be alone, and I think we binged 4 one evening, and it just kept drawing you in and in. You're like, okay, it's late. It's 2. We'll start at 10 in the morning and finish the other 2. So it was just magnificent too, because they really put it on the page. When we say it has to be on the page, it was there. That's the first thing to grab you, and then of course, the folk you have the opportunity to play and work with. But so it was great to see how it all played out, because it's just so intricate. I'm not that smart. It's so intricate.
Yeah. Since we are in a room of actors, I'm curious if you each had something that, if there was something like either a note that a director gave you at some point over the course of your careers, or a piece of advice about staying with acting that someone said to you that, I don't know, that you held on to in your heart somewhere, that, I don't know, what do you think that stands out? Lizzy, you're smiling. I feel like you've got something.
I can't think of anything specific other than I just think, like, if there's another option for a career, we would take it. Like, it's not an easy road at any level. And I think if there's like anything that interests you other than this, I would tell somebody to probably go for that. But it's also, it's not lost on me that, getting to do this is, I still feel as lucky as day one. It's a wild way to live your life, and I'm very grateful for it.
I did a play at the Guthrie Theater, like with Courtney, with my husband, who's president of SAG-AFTRA Foundation, right? And he loves it. He loves to serve. But we did His Girl Friday, which, the movie, and it's a lot of dialogue, and John Guerra writes a lot of dialogue, so sort of working thing. And I appreciate that he is a playwright. Seeing me perform, said, "Angela, you're a theater animal." And I was like, "Oh, I take that. What a compliment. Let me think about what that means." But then early in my career, going to drama school, and there, under the leadership of Lloyd Richards, I would go up to the Eugene O'Neill Playwrights Conference, and so theater conservator. I'm a theater animal, but I went to the O'Neill, and I would have the opportunity to do teleplays, on the television screen with my theater animal. So, and I remember him saying, "Angela, don't wave the rubber chicken." So that theater did not translate to that little screen. I guess I was, bigger than life. So it was really about learning, the stage versus, the small screen, which, so I was just learning throughout the years.
Don't wave the rubber chicken.
Don't wave the
Like
rubber.
embroider it on
subtlety,
a pillow.
subtlety,
Yes.
which he is
Yes.
so brilliant at.
Yeah.
When I worked with him the first time, the score with you, Robert, I remember we were in the scene. We're about to start the scene. I flew in. I'm a stewardess. Going to meet my guy, and we're about to start the scene, and he's talking, and I'm like, "Oh yeah," like Angela, and then I realized those were the lines from the screenplay. I was like, "Oh my God!" It was he's so natural. I mean, I didn't even realize those were the lines. How does he do that? So I have, from that time to this, it's always about trying to be, make it just the most natural, the most elegant, the most subtle, but I just picked that up. I picked that up from him. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I'm talking to him like Angela. He was like, oh. Excuse me, everyone. We're acting now. Okay.
Bob, first of all, what do you remember about that scene?
I remember not something quite like that. I remember that Angela and I were doing one of the first scenes in the movie. We were perched in this club that my character owned, and we were watching Marlon Brando come in. He was dressed a certain way, and Angela and I and he was pissed off at the director and yelling at him. And I felt like a kid watching my parents have a fight. And I'm sure that you have felt something in that direction too. Anyway, that's what I remember.
And is there a piece of direction, even from like the very beginning of your career, that someone gave you that you feel like you have held on to and used over the course of your many roles?
You mean
like any note that a director ever gave you that sort of opened something up for you?
I can't say it now, but there are things like that happened where a director or acting teacher would tell you to let. I had a sight reading teacher, Stella Adler, who said, "Don't be afraid when you're going in for auditions. You have 3 pages in front of you. You don't have time to learn it, and you just do it. But just follow your instincts and, take it off the page. You can do it. It can be done." And so that was a good lesson as far as you don't have the luxury of taking it home and learning it. And at the same time, taking it home and learning it for 3 days is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. But you can also do it more quickly, just spontaneously off reading the page, especially if it's written decently. I'm not even going to say well, but decently you can, and then you take off on certain lines of your own where you know the character would say this or that, and you kind of just go, and that makes a good impression. This is all for just auditions, but that made a lot of sense to me. Mm-hmm. Like I always tell young actors, one of my kids, don't expect to get the reading, don't expect it, assume you're going to not get it, and just try your best to follow your instincts, no matter how unconventional they might seem for this scene, because when a casting director who actually is more important than the director, because they see more directors, they'll see that thing. Well, I have an actor or actress who's interesting. I don't know if they're right for the part, but you should see them, and so the director will see them because of what you did that was more bold, if you will. And the director could, the best situation, of course, that director would say, well, you know what, I had this preconceived idea, I like this one better, I'll go with them. That could happen, but no matter what, it's just that the casting director is the most important conduit to other directors. And so... don't be afraid to try your best, and don't be afraid to you're not going to get the part. Let's assume that. So,
but take it as your opportunity to be your own director, your own producer, your own actor. It's your own moment, and they are your audience. So you control it, you own it. Leave it there in the room, and leave. And if hey, come back, you're like, who, me? But have fun, because I think the most important thing is to walk in with your unique brand of confidence. Yeah. Because your confidence is chef's kiss.
Yeah, it's the only. Yeah. I think it's the only.
And it reads. Yeah, it's energy, it's spirit.
Totally, especially in this weird period of time, like post-COVID, where you're not really going into rooms to audition anymore. You're making these tapes like in a vacuum, which I think is so stupid, because that really isn't the job description of an actor. It's not like, guess what these people who you've never met want from you. The job is to see how you take direction, to see how you can work with the casting director or the director or whoever's in the room. And removing that really removes, I think, a really vital part of this. It also gets rid of like so much of the community, the amount of friends I've made in audition waiting rooms. But I think, like what Bob was saying, you can get really caught up, especially in that vacuum, that you have to be word perfect. And if you have a great take and you screw up a couple words, you got to do it again. And I think it's every every person in a position of power who's actually casting people who I've spoken to say that it's never about that. It's never about like hitting every word perfectly. It's about what you are bringing, your vibe.
Well, all three of you brought so much to this series. All 6 episodes of Zero Day are streaming on Netflix now. I want to thank these 3 extraordinary actors, Angela Bassett, Lizzy Caplan, Robert De Niro. Thank you all for coming out.